Let me introduce you to my Warco drill press. But could it be improved? Welcome back to the workshop. So this is part 2 of having a look at this XY table. So in part 1 we stripped it right the way down and had a look at all the components inside. And then in this one we'll get on to cleaning it all up, putting some paint on it and rebuilding it, and then we'll have a look at the accuracy. Okay, let's get started. There's a little bit of paint on the thread, so we're just going to clean that up and chase it up, and probably the best way to do that is with the thread dye. And in case you're wondering, it's just a standard coarse pitch, 12 by 1.75. Should hold it. I feed it on, there we go. Might be able to do it by hand, I don't know. Yeah. So I'm partway through cleaning, and I've just brought the XY table over here just to have a look at that colour, to see if I like the red next to the green of the Warco drill press. And yeah, it's kind of okay because the red there does go with, I'll just zoom you up a little, pan you up a little bit, the red on the E-stop, and got the red and the green stop and start. So yeah, kind of okay. The one thing I don't like though is the fact that the paint is on the inside of these T-slots. For the rest of it though, for the rest of the detail, I think I'm going to go with the gunmetal grey, which is what I did the side pieces with over here. I don't know, I'm 50-50 on that red, to be honest. Let's keep cleaning it down and then we'll make a decision at the end. While we wait for that paint to dry, I thought I'd show you what comes in this little bag here that had all the hand wheels in. So you get this small one here, a nice red colour. Been a bit enthusiastic with the paint again. And then you get these little gradations on there. What's that? 0, 3, 2. Oh, okay, one. It's the other way. They're okay, but they're fairly raised. You can feel a burr on every one of them. So I'm not sure what I'll do with those really, because I'm going to have the DROs, so I don't really need them. So I may turn those off just to get a nice smooth finish. Also not too taken by this red. It's obviously been put on pretty enthusiastically. There's a big pool of it down there. And then we got our keyway there to do the drive onto the main lead screw. And then finally our little screw there, which is for, I don't know if these are the same. Yeah. Actually the handles are different sizes, but, well, the main round parts are different sizes, yeah, but the handles themselves are the same. It's a bit odd, so it's going to look a bit out of scale, but anyway. So obviously those go into there. So we got those two wheels and then the handles as well, and then we get this hardware down here. We've got 6 of these, what look like M12 bolts, but they are T-bolts like that. Now, I wasn't sure if these were for just holding the unit down. They'd sent some spare, because you just need 4 of those, because they do fit nicely in the hole, and then that flat runs up against the edge of the casting, so you could put a nut on and hold the whole XY table down onto whatever you're clamping it to. You know, in my case it'd be the top plate of the knee. But they also fit in the T-slots, so they're a nice fit inside those T-slots, and then they don't rotate, so that's quite nice. They're giving you 6 of those. So I think what I'm going to end up using those for is for the T-slot to hold on vices or hold on you know, usual clamps and things like that. And then you get the matching nuts as well, these M12, probably M12 course I guess, by the looks of that. So you get 6 of those, and then you also get the little keys that go onto the keyways. So here's one of the shafts that we deburred and cleaned up earlier, and they're quite a nice easy fit in there. Nice gentle fit, so yeah, pretty good fit into there. But then I tried one of these a moment ago, and the pulleys, or hand wheel, sorry, is actually a fairly loose fit. As you can see, been quite generous with the bore on that. Perhaps doesn't matter too much, because I think ultimately you'll be clamping it up with the lock nut on there against a shoulder, but it would mean that it's not necessarily going to sit concentric, and when you're winding it, it might sort of wobble around a little bit, sort of in this sense. You know, it is what it is. It's built for very easy assembly, I guess. So we got that. I'm not going to sleeve that and make it a nice fit. I don't think it's worth it on something like this, but looks like it's going to go together okay. And then you get these little domed nuts down here. Now you might be able to see from there already that can I get the key out? Yeah, here we go. So these are domed nuts that go on the end of there just to make it look a bit nicer, but you can see that that one's been sort of pressed a little bit off centre. Nothing too bad on that one, but if you compare it to its little friend here, that one's gone a long way out on the machine they used to dome these over, so it's still going to work, but it's gone a long way off, and somewhere, yeah, I don't know if you can see, sort of almost stressed it the way it's, yeah, not really supposed to be like that. So I think we'll have a look around and see if we can order some more of these. Now I do have some of these, but they're M8s and these look like M12s. So I'll probably have to go and order some new ones. Hopefully, if I buy a bunch of them, hopefully we'll get some that are in the centre. Anyway, that's the hardware you get in this little bag here. So the question then is, what am I going to do with these? Because I really don't like that red finish. It's going to clash, I think, with the whole machine. So I think what I'm going to do is get this in the lathe. So I'll probably hold it here. Just machine this face nice and flat. So I'm not actually taken by this chrome finish as well. I mean, it's not helped that's just been chucked in this bag with a... It's basically not one of those tumbling machines for giving things a smooth finish, and you can see it's just chipped and it's been bashed by in transit. You know, if you want to do this, then yeah, by all means do this finish and then wrap this up separately. But anyway, that's what it is. So, don't know, I might take this finish off back to the steel underneath. Certainly take the red off. I've got to be careful, there's like a 45-degree angle. Oh yeah, see I've got paint on me already from the spraying. A little 45-degree angle, just got to make sure I do honour that 45. I'll probably sand that rather than come in with a... I might get the lathe turning tool in there. I forget to get just the right shape. Just got to make sure I don't break through this wall if I do that. Then we can take this off, take that off, take it back to the parent material. So this is the touch-up paint that came with the Warco lathe quite a few years ago. So green is the main colour for the bed and a lot of the components, tailstock and so on. And then on top of the carriage there's a contrasting plate in yellow, looks quite nice. So that's a touch-up for that. Obviously it's a Warco drill press, so they've also used that same green on that. So the green in the handles would match the green in the head and the base. And obviously this will be fresh green and there will be a couple of years old green, but hopefully it'll be a close enough match. So that's the current plan. Take these out, fill them with the green, clean it all up, and then we can see what we got. Right, so I think we'll start with a little one. We'll take it to the lathe and get going. Okay, I've just knocked it around so it's reasonably true. I'm not going to spend too long on it. I think within 0.01, it's 0.1, less than that. Obviously there's a bit of rough surface to it, and then the paint's on, so we'll go with that. I assume this is concentric to the bore. I'm not going to get too worried on that kind of level of detail now. Let's get it cleaned up. So as you can see, that's cleaned up reasonably well. I haven't managed to get it all the way back to the metal, but I think that's clean enough for what we want to do next. So I've got that masked up there, and what I'm going to try and do now is just paint this green, this Warco green. So this is the spare touch-up paint that came with the lathe, and I think there might have been some in the drill press, can't remember. I think this came with the lathe. So this is the Warco green colour. I haven't used this, I just opened it a few minutes ago, and you can see there's not a lot in there, so it's filled up to about here. Okay, but at least we've got something, and it's got a pretty strong smell to it. So right, so the plan is we'll turn this really slowly, get our brush in here, maybe use the tool support there, or the tool rest there for a bit of support. I'll see how we get on with this, because I can just throw this away. It's just a little brush in, see if that works. If not, I might have to get a much smaller one just to get into that detail. Right, let's switch it on and see how we go. I think we'll leave that running for a bit, and then it won't allow the paint to kind of drip down onto one side, so it should keep it nice and even. So we'll leave that running for a few minutes, maybe get a little bit of heat on it, and we should end up with quite a nice result. There we are, it's the last one. So everything's been cleaned, painted, everything's dry now because I've let these dry for a little while. And we can take the masking tape off and see what we got. So as you can see, I decided to go for that metallic gunmetal grey all over in the end. Now I'm not expecting these to be absolutely super perfect. You know, and I'm not going to get the grinder out and get every last little bit out, because some of it's kind of sort of ingrained. But I think, well, hopefully it'll look an awful lot better than it did. On this table, I don't know, you might be able to see from there, there's this kind of splash of something on there. Looks like some kind of protective film that's on there, but it's really dried on hard. So we'll see how flat this all is, and to see if that's actually proud of the surface and whether to worry about it or not. Some kind of Cosmoline type product, I guess. I don't know, we'll have a look and see if we want to do anything in that. But that will be at the end. I think we'll clean that up once it's actually on the table, because at the moment it's probably providing a bit of rust protection. So, yeah, it's looking good. I'll spin these around and do the other end. So it's all fairly heavy stuff. Yeah, it looks alright. This is not the best tape to use. That kind of blue painter's tape's an awful lot better. This is not super sticky, but you know, it's done the job. Forget a bit of overspill, it's not the end of the world. It's at least got rid of that horrible green. And the other one. So this is the driven end. I wasn't too worried about getting a little bit of paint in the threads. It's not going to hurt anything. And the pins as well. I'll probably have to go in afterwards and just clean those out if they're a little bit tight, but again, nothing that I'm too worried about. And there we go, I think that's it. Oh no, there's just the hand wheels to do, which are over here. Yes, I'm pretty pleased with how those turned out. So we got really close. Very nice glossy finish, and it should match the rest of the machine. I mean, there are just, you know, very faint traces of red. But overall, very pleased with that. Right, let's see if we can get this centerpiece off. See how good my masking was. Ooh. The answer is, it was fine. That's the big one. And the small one. This one's possibly not quite as dry. That's okay. Oh no, look. Some red in there. I just checked the spec of this lead screw, and it's a 4mm pitch. So every time it goes around once, it goes 4mm. And if you look at the markings on here, they start at 0, then we've got 1, 2, 3, and then back to 4. So that one rotation gives you your 4mm of sort of linear travel. And then because that's divided into 4, then between there, that 0 and that 1 is 1mm. And then it's divided into 10, so that's 0.1. For each of those is 0.1mm. Now I'm going to be using the DRO for 1, so I don't really care too much about that. I decided to leave them on in the end, by the way. And the second thing is, on the casting itself, there's no pointer or indication, so you'd have to scribe something or punch something or make a nice little brass pointer or something if you want to make use of these dials. But there was nothing I could see that was obvious as a kind of reference. Anyway, there you go, that's what you get. So I'm not going to be using those, but that's what you get, and it's a 4mm pitch on the lead screw. And there's one more thing I just remembered. So what I did mask off the little oil feed there. So hopefully, let's see how we've done. I have to get the little scalpel knife out. Oh no, we're okay. Oh, that's worked all right. I might have been able to press that out with some kind of tool from back here, I don't know, but a bit of masking tape and we're done, aren't we? So you can sort of see the finish of the casting now, a little bit easier. It's fairly bumpy, aerated, but it'll do the job. It's got quite a kind of rustic look to it. Yes, I quite like that. It looks all right. So while it's been apart, I've had a look at where I might want to put DRO, so I'll run through that in a bit if I have time in this video. But the other thing I wanted to touch on was, that way. This is the ball nut that runs on this lead screw here, that moves that carriage backwards and forwards. And where is it? Oh yeah. So at the moment I've just painted this plate grey, both sides, and then cleaned it all up. And that was the plate that went there. And this does a couple of things. It stops some of the swarf falling down onto these thrust bearings that are about somewhere around here. So it does a good job as this cross slide moves out of the way. The other thing is when the cross slide comes this way, I think, oh yeah, it will, yeah, so the nut will hit this, and that results in the cross slide finishing about flush here. Now in theory you could trim this down and allow it to come a little bit further, because there is scope for it to move this way before you hit the handle, so is that option. So I might do that, just give me a little bit more wide travel, because every millimetre counts from a wide travel point of view. So I might end up doing that, even though it'll overhang a bit, I think that's fine. And then also there's possibly a way that we can put some covers over here. I'm not sure if I can get them to telescope, but we can certainly get some flat covers that cover over most of that area. So there's some ideas at the moment about how we can make this a little bit more protective. Right, well I think it's about time we put this thing back together. So we'll start with the base. We'll get the lead screw and all the thrust washers and etc. on there. We'll get the lead nut on for that, and then get the cross slide and the gib on. Alright, so let's make a start on that. Okay, so here's the X-axis lead screw, cleaned up quite nicely. So we've got D-bird there for the key to go in, and then the lead axis lead screw itself, trapezoidal thread. It's okay, that's about as clean as I could get it. There are little sort of tiny little burrs everywhere, and it does feel quite sharp, but yeah, it is what it is. So we'll get that assembled and then grease it and put it into the nut. So we need to start with the thrust bearing. Now just one thing to note on these, so I'll just put them so you can see them in shot, there we go. So if we go with, so they've got the label on this end and then this end's plain, so if we take the plain end and put that on there, it's supposed to come up against that shoulder, and you can see that's in fact that one's even larger than the shoulder. The one I tried a minute ago just butted up. So that won't go on that way around. But if we put it the other way, and it's a nice fit and butts up against there. So just make sure if you've got one of these and you do take it apart, you get those back on the right way around. Okay. Right. In fact, I think we might see if the other one's an even better fit. That's about the same, of course. Right, so that's that one. And we need to grease that. Okay, and this is a lithium type grease. I've had this for years, and you can see it lasts an awful long time. I think it's about £8 for a tube like that, but you hardly use any. I must have had this 8, maybe 10 years. So let's just get a bit on there. Find a clean bit. the races on, the outer parts. Yeah, there's one done. Looks like there's a fair bit of grease still on here, but that's okay. It's not like a high-speed, super critical application. Oh, they're ready to... Yeah, there we go. They're ready to go. Right, let's get them on the lead screw. Okay. Get that one on first, then for this one it's... yeah, it's this one. So that goes on next. And you can see how that provides the thrust against that shoulder there. Spins nicely, and then we need another one down here. And there was a washer. And then our little locking collars. Now the way these were assembled, that kind of beveled edge there was on first, and then the flat edges were against the other nut, so they're kind of back to back, I guess. So I'll put them on the same way. Tighten it up in a minute. So that one, and we'll lock that in a moment. Okay, so now, yeah, it feels good. Now I can get it into here. Before we go too far, we need to get the nut on, which is cleaned up nicely. You can see it's definitely offset. So what I've done is I've just memorised. I did put a little dot here, which is the front one as well, and also you can see there's some kind of weird machining operation that's towards the rear on the one I've got. So again, if you take these apart, just be aware it's offset to one side, which will probably mean if you get it wrong, these holes won't fit. Although having said that, oh no, yeah, they'll probably be offset and you won't get it together. Or you'll put a lot of strain on this, not sure. But just know which way around it goes is the key. Alright, let's get that on here. And I'm guessing it's a left-hand thread. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Alright. Let's make sure I get that on. Yeah, that's fine. Right, I'll put some grease in here. Time to put this back together. It's got these two little split pins down here, and I have cleaned all the paint off them just to make sure it's not extra tight, because once I get it in, to get it out again I'll probably end up damaging the paint to leave it out. So ideally I don't really want to do this again, take it apart again. And the other thing was, it came with these little screws, these hex screws, which are fine, except they managed to get them green, so I just went with some new ones and cut them to size. The only thing I noticed, I'll just show you on the other one. Can't remember if I pointed this out in the last video, but anyway, here it is again. They haven't counterbored those as such. They've drilled them with a twist drill, and you've got the end of the drill radius at the bottom of that hole. It's not flat, it's curved. It's also not actually deep enough for a socket head screw, as you can see. It sticks out a bit. So I thought about just counterboring them out, but the hole in there is quite generous. It's much larger than the pilot on my counterbore, and also it would take quite a lot of material out here, would take all the paint off, and it just might make it rust in future. So I decided let's just go with it. It's okay. But again, nice little feature again of how they've made these to a price. Alright, let's get this bolted in. Okay, I might need to put some longer ones just to pull it and get it going. Or we might be okay, I don't know. Yeah, it's just on the edge. Let's get the other one in and see if we can help get it started. No. Let's get some longer ones. I think these are what hold the ball nut on. They are longer. If these don't work, I've got some much longer ones. There we go. That'll probably get us going. Yes. Alright, let's take this one out and do the same that side. Yeah, that's pulling it in nicely. I guess while it was off I could have machined a little feature at the back so I can get something in to prise it out, but oh well. We're there now. Right. Let's take those out and put the proper ones in. These are really too long, they're bottoming out a little bit. Get the other one in and tighten it up. Click. Now in order to get these tightened up, I thought I might be able to use the hand wheel itself. I have to pull it off the edge a little bit. Get that onto the keyway, and then I can use that to hold the shaft. Oh man, that lead screw's really bent. Oh, what? Oh, it never ends. Well, there's not much I can do about that right now, other than work out a plan to get rid of the whole lot and put ball screws in or something. Anyway, yeah, that's going to make life interesting. Well, we'll tighten it up. We've come this far, get it together and see what it's like. If it wears out really quickly, then yeah, it'll get swapped out. Alright, that's... And the quality never ends. Now, I think I mentioned these dome nuts in the last video. You can see how offset some of them are, and generally pretty poor quality. So I went and ordered some of these. Now, I didn't realise the dome is actually slightly longer, but I don't think it's going to matter. Yeah, I think it's fair to say you can see the difference. Nice and straight for a start. Right, so let's get these new ones fitted. That's good, and then the handle. Oh, what? That's bottomed out already. It's definitely a kit, isn't it? Yeah, that doesn't want to go anymore. Right, how much have we got to take off? Right, bring you back in a minute. Alright, let's try that again. I noticed there's no sort of floating in a sleeve or anything like that. It's just going to rely on this bolt being just the perfect length to give this a nice sort of freedom of movement, but not too much end play. So okay, again, it is what it is. Oh, that's not bad. tiny bit of inflow. There we go. It's a bit wobbly. So this is the gib. It's cleaned up, but as you can see it's still not exactly precision ground. I don't want to take too much off, but it's certainly a lot cleaner. And then all I've got to do is make sure that little hole lines up with one of the little the locking screws there. It goes on this side here. So before we put that in, we need to get some this stuff on. So this is stuff I use on the lathe, on the slideways. So it's got this kind of thickness, viscosity to it. So hopefully it will hold on to those and give us a bit of rust protection, a bit of lubrication at the same time. So I'll put it on both sides. I know it only needs to slide on one of them, but it will at least keep the rust at bay. I'll get a little bit on there. Just give it a nice coating. Can't make it any worse, can it? More in there for good measure. I'll put a bit on these as well, why not? Just line up those dovetails. There we go. So make sure I've got it the right around. Yeah, the gib adjusters and the lockout screws are this side, and I remember that being on the right, so that's okay. And our nuts the right way around. Hopefully that's going to line up. Let's see. Yeah, looks good. Again, our little M8 cap heads. Just leave those slightly loose for now, because what we should do is just get the gibs locked in so this is pushed, or so it's going to be pulled that way I guess, so it's in its final position, then do these up. I know the lead screws not exactly straight, but we're giving it the fighting chance, so I think those are, yeah, they're sort of loose enough for now. At least they've got the position. Alright, let's tighten up the gibs. As you can see, this flat bladed screwdriver, I don't use flat bladed very much. You tend to use Phillips and everything else like that. Yeah, it gets used for opening paint cans like everybody else's. Anyway, it's working fine. Yeah. And then it's 14mm nuts, which is a bit weird. Let's see if it slides okay. Might have been a bit generous there. Let's get these done up now. think the reason we might be getting away with such a bent lead screw is because there's so much generous clearance in the lead nut as well, that it's just kind of walking around like that and not moving the nut too much. But I don't know, maybe we'll get away with this. If I run it all the way to the end of travel, it's quite a lot of force required, so I might have overdone it, or I might just leave it and just let it bed in, because then it will get to a flatter surface quicker. Man, there's still black cast iron rubbish coming off. Nice. That's better. Still no free plate. But it moves a bit better. Yeah, let's go with that. Just make sure these are tight. Okay. X-axis done. Now we could put that plate back on there. That limits the travel and keeps some of the swarf off this thrust bearing here. I think for now I will put it on, but I think I'm going to do something better with some kind of cover plate. Not quite decided how I'm going to make that work yet, and whether I can make them so they're telescoping, or maybe that's a step too far. There might be some bellows I can, some commercial ones I can fit over here, but they're going to get a little bit in the way of the DRO. So I don't know, a little bit more thinking to do, but at least I've got it functioning now and cleaned up, and it works and looks a bit nicer as well. Okay, I think now we need to put the table on. This is going to be very similar to before, so I might not film all of it. Again, I'm just using some longer screws just to get it started on those roll pins. Get it to pull it in. The handle to stop it rotating. Get a nice domed nut on the end. Key weight. The key is pushed out. And then I think it was a 19, wasn't it? There we go. It was a 19. Good. Alright, same again. How much are we taking off? Okay, let's try that again. Just about. Maybe a little bit tight, but I'm sure that'll bed in nicely. And again, yeah, lead screw's pretty bent, isn't it? Okay, so same thing again. Get the gibs lubricated and slide it onto the cross slide. Okay, it's ready to put the table on now, so I've just greased up the lead screw there, put some grease inside the thread there just to make sure that's nicely bedded in. We've got the gib in, that's oiled both sides. It's just loosely held by the lock nut there, and then oiled up there, cleaned all the doveways, given them a light coating of oil. So here we go. So I've got to get the table up to this point, try and get it on without knocking the gib out, because it's just balanced in there. and then get it onto the lead screw, and then it should pull itself on. In theory it should be fairly straightforward. It's just going to be heavy and awkward. Here we go. Doing this a little bit blind, I can't quite see. Somewhere there. There we go. Don't need to drop too far. It's put a lot of stress just here. Somewhere around there should pick the lead nut up. I think we're on. Get that in about the middle. Right, let's get these lock nuts in. We'll start with the middle one. Let's try that. Okay, so there you have it. So this is what you get for your money on this kind of import XY table. So some of the issues were there wasn't a shoulder bolt on these handles, so they ended up being extremely long. I had to cut those down. The cosmetic feel, you know, doesn't really affect anything, but that was what we found. The dome nuts were out of square, or out of they weren't pressed very well, so I put some new ones on there. These little gradations here are fine, but there's no pointer, so you'd have to make your own. What else on there? Yeah, the bearings on there, they were different sizes in the IDs. One of them slipped all the way over the shoulder, so they're not really very consistent. The lead screws, yeah, completely bent on both axes. What else? The gibs, particularly on the short one, on the X, was pretty rusty and not great surface finish. It's probably not helping with the overall accuracy. So after putting it back together, this is what we've got left over. So we've got 6 of these T-bolts that go into the table like that. They allow you to clamp things down using the usual clamp system, and then there's matching nuts that go with those as well. So we've got those, so we'll make good use of those. I've also got these little cap heads that they managed to paint green, so I replaced those with some sort of zinc plated ones. Just cut them down to length, so they were fine. Then we've got the plate that went over the thrust bearing, just to keep the swarf out. Not quite decided what I'm going to do with cover plates. And then we've got the 2 screws that hold that on, and then we've just got the 2 M12 domed nuts, which were domed a little bit off centre, so I replaced those with some bought off eBay or something like that. Okay, this video is getting a little bit long now, so we'll call it there. In the next video we'll have a look at the backlash we get in these 4mm lead screws to see what that's like, and then we'll set up some DTIs against the known reference square, and we'll have a look and just see just how square this table is as we move it in these 2 axes, and just see what you're getting for your money. So if you're interested in following along on this build series, feel free to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and then when I finally finish the video with all the backlash measurements and the squareness of the table and get it all edited and uploaded, you'll get notification when that happens. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Feel free to leave me a comment. It's always great to know what you think, and just see how you think I'm getting on with this. Any of your experiences with similar tables, or maybe you've converted a drill press to have some kind of XY table feature. Good to hear from you as well. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.